Good. Come on in, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk with Maggie and Lucy, where we believe the older women should teach the young, just like the late, great Kevin Samuels taught us to. We like to come in here from time to time with you all and give you our perspective on relationships and any topics that can help those young women that have chosen marriage and family in their prime. So, Lucy, so good to see you. Greet everyone and let them know what are we reacting to today.
Thank you, Maggie. Thank you all for being here. We're reacting to a video from a channel in YouTube that's called Psych Depth. And I believe it sounds like it's AI generated, but with a male perspective in mind. All of the topics are how men see our behavior in this modern world. And I love watching that channel because I'm always learning how the other side sees us and our women way. So this topic is talks about how our emotional, chaotic minds and behavior has sadly ruined men in this modern world.
Oh, that just breaks my heart to hear, especially as a boy mom and any of us who care about men. If you have brothers, uncles, nephews, husbands, sons, anybody. So, ladies, this one is for you. So you can listen and ask yourself if you recognize any of these behaviors. Because the good thing is you can course correct if you choose to. So we see you all coming in. Hello to Lost in Translation podcast. Hello to Nicole. Thank you all so much for being here. We love hearing what you all have to say in the chat. So we'll bring it up on the screen. Let me go ahead and share my screen, and then I'll give you all the two disclaimers. Again, this video is from Psych Depth and Primal Psychology. I did request to react to it. If you want to watch this without our commentary, the link is in the description. This video is about 20 minutes, so we'll go ahead and get started and then pause it and give you all our take. And again, our content is only for those women that want marriage and family. If you want to do your own thing, that's fine. You're just not going to be happy here. So we want to make sure you know that. So come on in, everybody, and let us begin.
Here's the most ironic shit you'll ever hear. Women spend decades telling men to be more sensitive, more emotional, less aggressive, less masculine. They shame men for traditional masculinity, call it toxic, demand men become softer, gentler, more feminine. And then what happens? Those same women turn around and complain there are no real men left. They created exactly what they asked for and now they're disgusted by it. Let me explain this insane paradox, because once you understand it, you'll see why modern dating is such a disaster. For 50 years, women have been systematically dismantling traditional masculinity. Don't be aggressive, share your feelings, cry more, be vulnerable, let women lead, check your privilege. Masculinity is toxic. They've turned schools into emotional safe spaces where boys can't even play tag because it's too aggressive. They've drugged boys with THD medication for acting like boys. They've created a society where masculine behaviour is pathologized and feminine behaviour is celebrated. And guess what? It worked. They successfully created a generation of soft, emotional, passive men who ask for permission to kiss them, split the check on dates, and cry during romantic comedies. Men who won't approach them because that's harassment. Men who won't lead because that's patriarchal. Men who won't protect them because that's toxic masculinity. Congratulations, ladies. You got exactly what you ordered.
All right, ladies. So let's start with the gut punch. He came right out of the gate letting us know exactly how he feels. And I always want to say, okay, this is not for shock value. What can we actually learn from this? So, for those of you who care, he said a lot there in that first section. And what struck me, did you hear him when he said, what's been happening for the last 50 years? So, what does that mean, ladies? This is not something that happened overnight. Likewise, this is not something that's going to be corrected overnight. So you always hear me say, it's going to get worse before it gets better. And I hate to say, I think there's going to be a lot of women in my age group, Gen X women, who, as the late great Kevin Samuel said, are going to die alone because we have created, like he said, the men that we ultimately do not want. Because Lucy and I just finished the finishing school, and we talked to the women about femininity. That's who we are naturally. We are biologically wired to be softer. Likewise, men are biologically wired to be harder. And ladies, you can lie if you want to, but you know how you feel when a masculine man enters a space, or you see a man in a masculine sport, or being competitive, or going against any type of conflict. We love that. That's how we were made to be. So, what's the takeaway, ladies? This will get better, but only if those of us who appreciate men stand up and say so. And even if you don't stand up and say so, our behavior has to change. And even when it does, it may be another 50 years before things get better. So that means if you got a man, hold on. You're going to see a lot of women to your left and your right, especially some of the loudest ones, wishing they had what you have. What would you say, Lucy?
Yes, one thing I forgot to mention is because this is a male focused channel, there are going to be some colorful language. There is going to be some colorful language used, but we're adults here. We understand, we get it. And I like that Just Another Mark said there's a massive psyop to pit men and women against each other. We aren't enemies. We have been deceived. We're not enemies. We have always worked together better. And unfortunately, those who want a divided world have been working on each side to make us not like each other. When, if you look at history, the better societies were because men and women understood their roles and we worked together to make those societies better.
Absolutely. We're going to get back into it. But like Lucy said, and the late great Kevin Samuel said it, we are better together. And the relationships that have defined roles, masculine, feminine, my man calls it breadwinner, chief of staff, whatever you want to call it. That's why we are not equal. That's why I don't like using the word partner. Say whatever you want to say. But those relationships that have established roles, everybody knows their place and we complement each other. And it just gets better from there. So we're going to go back in. This video is called Women Created the Men They Now Complain About. All right, so let's see what else he has to say.
But here's where it gets hilarious. These same women who demanded sensitive men are now on dating apps complaining, where have all the real men gone? They're in their therapist's office crying about how their boyfriend is too nice and they're not feeling the spark. They're fantasizing about being dominated while dating men they've trained to ask permission before touching them. I had a female client last month, successful lawyer, strong independent woman, all that bullshit. She spent years dating the exact type of man she said she wanted. Sensitive, feminist, emotional, supportive. You know what she told me? I feel like I'm dating my girlfriend with a penis. There's no sexual tension. He asks permission for everything. I want him to just take charge, but he's terrified of offending me. Lady, you created him. You and every woman like you spent decades telling men that taking charge is toxic, that male leadership is oppression, that masculine energy is dangerous. And now you're surprised that men believed you. You're shocked that men adapted to what you said you wanted. This is like ordering a salad and then complaining it's not a steak. The systematic destruction of masculinity started in schools. Little boys can't sit still for 8 hours? Drug them. They want to wrestle and compete? That's too aggressive. Give them time out. They want to play war? That's promoting violence. Make them play house instead. We've literally criminalized normal boy behavior and then wonder why we're producing weak, confused men. Then it continues through adolescence. Teenage boys are told their natural sexual desires are predatory. Their competitiveness is toxic. Their desire to protect and provide is outdated. They're taught that being a man is something to apologize for, not something to embrace. The future is female, they're told. Step aside and let women lead. So they do, and then women complain there are no leaders left.
All right, I want to unpack this one because he said a lot there. So for us big boss professional women who think we know better, who think we can do better, who think men are useless, who think step aside and let let the women lead. Show me a community, show me an organization, show me anything that has lasted the test of time, not a one off, where the women have led everything and the men are useless. Ladies, it's just not true. You can argue me down if you want to, but I think we are better in a support role. Now, of course, you can be a leader, in your spaces, and that's totally fine. But what you'll realize, especially as you get our age, you tire of that. That thing that you were chasing so much now becomes a burden to you. And especially when he was talking about men being trained this way. And I always like to tell on myself, you all know, as a boy mom, I had to have, my ex-husband and my man both tell me what was best for the boys because I didn't know. I had girlfriends telling me, they make a pill for that. It was just shut them up and get them out of the way. But when you allow boys to be boys and you do not inhibit that, it is amazing what they can become. Believe me, as a Marine mom now, my man actually told me last week because the boys went to live with their father once they got to high school. And he said, if they'd have stayed up underneath you, Marcus would not be a Marine today. And that hurts. That hurts, but it's true because I can't raise a man. I don't know what's best for men. So again, ladies, if you have the opportunity for a man to give direction and let a man raise a boy, that is what's going to be best for him in the long run. And that is the man that you will admire and respect, not the type of men that most of us are complaining about today. What would you add, Lucy?
And that's why we recommend to listen to the men. You listen to the ones that are purchasing the goods. You're not going to listen to other women competing for those men. Again, listen to the men. They're telling you exactly what they want from us, and we can either go back and truly go into our who we are as feminine women and appreciate our softness that we have, or fight them all the way through and become, those leftover women that they talk about in China and Korea.
All right, let's go back in and see what else he has to say.
Look at dating apps. Women's profiles are full of demands. Must be 6 feet tall, make 6 figures, own a house, have a car, be funny, be confident, take charge, plan dates, pay for everything. But men's profiles? I'm a feminist. I respect women. I'll treat you like a queen. I'm not like other guys. They've been trained to apologise for being men before they even match. And when these neutered men try to date, disaster. They ask, is this okay? Every 5 seconds. They're terrified of making a move. They text for weeks without asking for a date because they don't want to seem pushy. They treat women like fragile porcelain dolls who might shatter if they express any masculine energy. It's not attractive, it's pathetic, and women know it. But here's the thing. Men didn't choose this. They adapted to survive. In the current social climate, traditional masculine behaviour can destroy your life. Approach a woman wrong? Sexual harassment. Express attraction. Objectification. Take charge at work. Toxic masculinity. Show aggression in competition. Problematic behaviour. Men have learned that the safest path is complete passivity. I counsel guys all the time who are absolutely terrified of women. Not because they're weak, but because they're smart. They've seen what happens when you misread signals. They've watched careers destroyed by accusations. They've seen men's lives ruined for behaviour that was normal 20 years ago. So they choose safety over masculinity. Can you blame them? And you? Meanwhile, women are getting exactly what they asked for and hate.
All right, so let's talk about this. He said something else that struck me. Men have adapted to the current rules of engagement, if you will, because that is what is necessary to survive. And that saddens me because we have stripped away natural born masculinity from men. Now they are a shell of themselves. But why is that? It's because when they led, head first, when they were bold, when they were masculine, when they were unapologetic, when they were all the things that we call toxic now, it destroyed them. It ruined them. And as a species, as humans, or as any animal, you want to survive. You want to live to fight another day. So whatever you have to do to neuter yourself in order to survive, Unfortunately, ladies, men have chosen that path because the other option was diabolical. So, that being said, how can we fix this? Because I don't want to just talk about what the problem is, but I say we allow men to be men. We understand, accept, and appreciate that a man is not just a woman with a deeper voice or stronger muscles or taller, stature. A man is completely different, and we have to be okay with that and not let that threaten us because we're not the same. We were never supposed to be the same. We are beautifully different, and I think we're beautiful together. What would you add, Lucy?
And I think one of the reasons why women have been able to be as demanding and as spoiled as they are is because the modern world has been made so easy by the men that they say they don't want around, that they haven't had an opportunity to see themselves in dire straits like a civil war, a hurricane, earthquake. When you see the men, I have seen all of those. When you see the men going out there, saving the people that are under the rubble, getting the trees that have were destroyed by the hurricane down, picking them up, opening the roads for them. They have not been exposed to seeing the amazing work that they do because of who they are, and it comes from within. And unfortunately, there is a movement that has made it very real to make women believe that they can do it all. And unfortunately, and fortunately, because I don't want to do it all, I want the men to do the men stuff, and I will be happy doing my women things.
I couldn't agree more. Let's see what you all are saying in the chat. Just another Mark says, I recall when I learned some young boys with all their energy in some schools were put on drugs to numb them so they'll still be in elementary classes. Recess used to be the outlet for that energy. It's true, ladies. And, I think about this, those of us who are so proud of our big degrees, and I come from academia too, and I remember getting a little bit frustrated when I would think, okay, well, the natural next step is college. Well, college isn't for everyone. And when you have a child like mine, I'll tell on myself, it was very hard for Marcus to sit still and listen about books from people he's not going to ever read, or all the things that you have to do just to get that piece of paper. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with formal education, but when we put all of our eggs in that basket, it really strips away that building and creative and forceful and ingenious skill that men have. Men learn by doing. They learn by taking things apart and putting it back together, by breaking it down and building it back up. They don't like reading what somebody else found out about something. They want to go learn and explore for themselves. But unfortunately, like my man will tell you, the modern education system is really suited for girls and for boys to be more like girls. So if you have a son that is struggling in school, I'm not saying that we need to, start all over, but I am saying that you're not alone, and it's not a coincidence that sometimes it's better for boys to go out there and build that skill with their own hands. And those are the ones that we appreciate for actually being able to do something and not just talk about something. All right, let's go back in.
It. They wanted emotional men. Now their boyfriend cries more than they do. They wanted equal partners. Now nobody makes decisions because everything needs consensus. They wanted non-aggressive men. Now nobody will protect them when shit goes down. Be careful what you wish for. The military knows this. You know why combat effectiveness drops when you feminize training? Because war doesn't give a fuck about your feelings. When bullets start flying, you need aggression, hierarchy, instant decision-making, controlled violence. All the traits we've been breeding out of men for 2 generations. We're creating men who can't protect anyone, including themselves. And women feel this on a primal level. Their conscious mind says they want a sensitive feminist ally, but their biology wants a protector, a provider, a leader. This creates cognitive dissonance. They date the men they think they should want, but their bodies don't respond. No tingles, no attraction, no arousal, because you can't negotiate with biology. I see this constantly in my practice. Woman comes in complaining about her toxic ex-boyfriend. He was aggressive, dominant, made decisions without consulting her, traditionally masculine. He was such an asshole, she says. Next sentence. The sex was incredible and I still think about him constantly. Then she shows me her current boyfriend. Soft, sweet, asks permission for everything. He's perfect on paper, but nothing. He's boring. He doesn't activate her primal attraction triggers. He doesn't make her feel feminine because he's not masculine. He doesn't create sexual tension because there's no danger. No edge. No power dynamic. He's been neutered by society, and now she wonders why she's not attracted to the eunuch she helped create.
Well, why don't you tell me how you really feel? All right, ladies, let's talk about this one. So he said, we can't negotiate with biology, and we've kind of beat that horse. You are wired. And when you're young and headstrong, like a lot of us were, nobody can't tell you anything. But I am so unbothered now because I'm just, find me when you're 35. If that don't work, find me when you're 45. If you still think you want to do, find me when you're 55. It's going to happen, ladies. All of the women that I know, so ask yourself, all of the women that I know, even very accomplished professional women, as they age, naturally they want to slow it down and not do as much for as long. Every once in a while you'll have a unicorn, but in mass, no. But the older men that I know, they're putting it into second gear. You can't make them sit down. If they got a lick of anything left, they want to go faster, stronger. So, again, ladies, our biology is going to speak for us. So be careful what you let people put in your ear. We all had that. I remember the feminist groups on the college campus, and it's not on accident that they want to get young, energetic minds and strong bodies to go, shout at the moon. And then you look back on your life and you're like, what happened here? I'll tell you all something Mr. President told me. He was over yesterday. And he gets into these conversations at work, and it's fascinating to me. But there was a woman that either works with him or works for him, and she was complaining about her husband either not wanting to work or always have an excuse or, taking underemployment kind of jobs or whatever it was. And he said to her, and I quote, "That's because you're the husband," and walked away. And she was like, oh my God, I can't believe you said that. So, of course, she chased him down to explain himself. But he said, ladies, you're not going to get away from this. If you are going to be that type of dominant, headstrong woman, you will attract intentionally or unintentionally the type of men that are going to say, all right, you got it. My ex-husband asked me, well, I thought you were driving this bus. So you have to be very careful of how you show up. And when you lead with all of your accomplishments and all the things, well, I got my own house and my own degree and my own car and I travel this way and that way, a man is going to say, the type of man that you want is not going to be attracted to that. He's going to say, all right, well, you got it. I guess you don't need me. Go live your life. Every relationship has that yin and yang, has that husband and wife. Even if they're same sex, they will tell you somebody's got to lead. Mr. President calls it breadwinner and chief of staff. Am I saying that we don't work women? No, I'm not saying that. But I promise you, you don't want to do it until you're 65, burning the candle at both ends. Who's going to take care of the home? Who's going to take care of the kids? Maybe you just want to outsource that. Then this message isn't for you. But ask yourself if you are or have been the husband in the relationship and didn't want to be. What would you add, Lucy?
Yes, and the thing about women wanting emotional men, for me, an emotional man, it's just it's a different type of man because they have they they have the capacity to step away from their square. And I don't think that that's what we want in men. We want men to be stoic. We want men to be decisive. We want men to just be men and take the lead and say, no, this is how we're going to do this, because because they know how to do it. And we women, we should trust them, because again, millennia has shown us that they have built this world for us. Trust me, we would not be able to survive when the zombie apocalypse hits. And that's what I keep telling all these women. Think about when there's a disaster, do you want to do, remember Kevin Samuels used to bring that island, thing that where they put men and women to fight off for them. I gotta tell you, when I started watching it, I wanted to choke half of those women because of their complaining and their inactivity and inability to just take action. And that's what men have to deal with us every day. I feel bad for my husband because of my emotionality. It we can be a little crazy, and they can take our little crazy. And I appreciate my husband for taking it in, but I also respect him, and whatever he's gonna do, he can take, he's gonna do what he's gonna do, because I trust that he's gonna do the best for us. So again, it's time to start not believing the BS that they are selling us for a reason, and start looking at biology and history of how women and men have worked together to create society. And right now, the women sadly are leading society, and it's becoming chaos. So again, it's a warning for me.
Absolutely, yeah. Nicole says you remember that episode. I know Kevin used to talk about Bear Grylls, but I know which one you're talking about, where women were supposed to build a society on one part of an island. I never watched it because I already knew I'm useless. Just put me on snacks. I can't lift, run, carry, nothing. I know my role, and I very happy in my value add. Let's go back in.
The workplace is where this gets really obvious. Companies push for collaborative leadership, consensus building, emotional intelligence, basically feminine leadership styles. And what happens? Decision-making slows to a crawl. Nobody wants to take responsibility. Everyone's afraid to be direct. Meetings become therapy sessions. Productivity plummets. Then they wonder why nothing gets done. Traditional male hierarchies existed for a reason. Clear leadership, defined as decisive action, competitive meritocracy. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. It built civilizations, won wars, created prosperity. Now we've replaced it with feel-good circle jerks where nobody's in charge and everyone's feelings matter more than results. And who suffers most? Women. Because while they've been busy dismantling masculinity, they still expect men to perform traditional masculine roles when convenient. Pay for dates, but don't expect sex. Protect them, but don't be violent. Lead, but don't be dominant. Provide, but don't expect appreciation. Be masculine, but only when they want it, how they want it, without being told when or how. This selective empowerment is destroying relationships. Women want all the benefits of feminism and all the benefits of traditionalism. They want to be independent, but also provided for. They want to lead, but also be led. They want equality when it benefits them and special treatment when it doesn't. And men are checking out because the game is rigged. Young men today are completely fucked. They're raised by single mothers who teach them to be nice. They go to schools run by women who punish masculine behavior. They consume media that portrays masculinity as either toxic or buffoonish. They enter a dating market where being a man is a liability. Then society wonders why they're retreating into video games and porn.
All right, so let's talk about this section. And I saw just another Mark has a question. It's just what he said about we women, we want it all, right? We want you to lead us, but don't be controlling. We want you to, consult us with everything, but make decisions. The list goes on and on. Ladies, you're going to have to choose. You hear me say choose wisely. You're not going to know everything. I still find out stuff. And it's been over 30 years. I'm like, I didn't know that. And he'll straight up tell me, yeah, because you didn't need to. And sometimes I'm just like, I can't believe he's talking to me that way. But I love it because if left to my own devices, I know I would just be all over the place. We are chaotic. And what he said that hurts is that with all of these demands and the way we have created the new modern man, it's hurting us the most. So, women, we've been very short sighted in this direction that we're giving and telling men, okay, this is what we want, but yet we're still not happy. We still aren't getting what we want. Women are medicated and drinking and going to therapy and all this stuff. And I'm not a doctor, don't listen to me, but I think a lot of it is the box that we have put ourselves in. So we have a question here from just another Mark. He says, I'm interested in what both of your stances are on women's birth control. Some women I speak to who work in that field explain that more women are attracted to the more feminine man because of it. I'm not a doctor, and I believe in your marriage, you do whatever works for the two of you. I will say this: hormones change us in any form at any time. It could be when you are, women, we go through life in cycles, whether it's your regular cycle or if you're having a baby, there's hormones. When you're at the age that Lucy and I are, there's changes in hormones, and it's real. So when you add hormones to what you naturally are, there will be a change. It may be a change that you're okay with. It may be a change that you're not okay with, but I can't speak on anything medically. I will just say that with every choice, there is a consequence, and it's up to the woman to decide, okay, is this helping me or is it hurting me? But I haven't heard that it makes you attracted to more feminine men. I think it's society in whole, because we think that being a man is a bad thing. What would you say, Lucy?
I have heard that those changes in hormones do attract women to feminine men when they're under the pill, and then when they're on their cycle, then they go back to being attracted to more masculine men. So there is a connection with, we're putting chemicals in our bodies that really we don't really know the long-term repercussions of that. So again, that's a different story. But going back to women wanting emotional men, I have seen instances where the women have those emotional men and they end up divorcing them because they didn't offer what they wanted from a masculine man. Notice the success on these rom-com books and audiobooks. What they show is all of these men that are out of control. Usually, I think Jordan Peterson said it was a pirate, a surgeon, a vampire, and a werewolf to be examples of the man that we're attracted to. And it goes back to having that strength and knowing that that man is going to be able to protect us in situations where we're going to need that protection, which goes back to the women, young women, saying that they would prefer a bear over a man. I mean, it makes, again, that goes back to how brainwashed these young women are about thinking that the bear would not be a bear and would say, oh, no, I'm just going to sit here and watch you because you're a lady. Are you kidding me? When if you were encountered by the bear, we would be running to the next man over there cutting a tree to ask for help. So give me a break. That's where I get a little frustrated when I hear those things, because it just doesn't make any sense. And some of these women are so brainwashed that you cannot talk sense into them. So at that point, it's like, you just let them be and, live the life they think that they want to live, to then when they're 40 and 50, go back and say, yeah, I should have done things a little differently, because here I am now in my 50s. I don't want to go to work every day. I don't even have any retirement money. I don't have anybody once I'm in my deathbed that's going to be looking over me. So again, it's one of those things that it's frustrating to a point that us married women, we don't even want to talk about it, because again, we we got our husbands, we got our little society life together. And then, why spend spend your energy trying to have young women understand that life is going to hit them hard once they realize that all those lies that they were sold from feminism, they were lies for a reason.
It's so true, ladies. But it's true. The weather is starting to get colder. Winter is coming, or some of you all may say winter is here. And it doesn't bring me any joy to say this, but I'm going on record. Young ladies, save yourselves. I am telling you, I have been thinking about this a lot. You all are all going to get our age. I'll be 50 next month. There is nothing worse than looking back on your life with regret over things that you could have made different choices. So what can you do? Let the men be men. That's a huge thing that you can do. Just let go. Stop getting in the way. Stop interfering. I've seen some comments. We got Anthony on TikTok. I saw just another mark here. As far as even recess in the boys' school, let boys play. Let them build. Let them wrestle. Let them run around yelling at the moon. Just let them be. They have to do that. That is what's going to build that fearless man that you're going to want. Because I'm telling you, if you don't appreciate human nature, then you don't appreciate nature at all. And if you think a bear is going to be better for you, talk about snacks, you're going to be the snack. And when I think about this, especially older women that are trying to poison young ladies who, like Lucy said, we want to be accepted. We want to be part of the group. So it's natural for us to just follow along and do what everyone else is doing. But young ladies, you are adults. And I want to challenge you to think critically. Slow down and start watching the women around you. Watch the entertainment that you consume. Like he said in the video, do you watch shows that make fun of men? Do you laugh at their hobbies? Do you belittle them? Do you tell them the things that they want to do for fun or to get out of their system, or guys trips or whatever they want to do? There's something wrong with that. You will end up as one of these women, unfortunately, that nobody wants to hear that all the time. And I will put money on this. I'm not a betting person, but I believe every woman in her 20s had somebody take her seriously. Whether or not you took that person seriously, only your results will show. Lucy and I were both married early, but if somebody is giving you an opportunity and you laugh in his face, before you know it, 40 will be here. And I promise you, you're going to be looking left and right like, what do I do? Where do I go? The economy is hard. The government is shut down. It's cold outside. And I don't want that for any of you all, especially if you can prevent it. All right, let's go back in.
Video game thing is telling. You know why young men spend thousands of hours gaming? Because it's the only place left where masculine values still work. Clear objectives, competition, hierarchy based on skill, rewards for achievement. No feelings, no consensus needed, no apologies for winning. It's the last refuge of traditional masculine psychology. And porn is not about sex, it's about simplicity. No mixed signals, no shit tests, no emotional manipulation, no fear of false accusations, just straightforward sexual exchange without the minefield of modern dating. Is it healthy? Number. But it's safer than trying to navigate the impossible contradictions of what modern women say they want versus what they actually respond to. The birth rate collapse makes perfect sense in this context. Why would men sign up for marriage and children when the deal is so bad? You're expected to be the primary provider while being told your contribution doesn't matter. You're supposed to be an equal partner while having no actual authority. You risk losing half your assets and access to your kids if she's unhappy. That's not a partnership, it's a suicide pact. Here's what's really fucked. The men who are still traditionally masculine, they're killing it. While everyone else is confused about gender roles, these guys are cleaning up. Women are so starved for actual masculinity that when they encounter it, they lose their minds. That's why the bad boys always win. Not because women like being treated badly, but because these men haven't been neutered. I know this player, complete arsehole by any measure, doesn't ask permission, doesn't apologise, doesn't compromise, takes what he wants, says what he thinks, leads without consensus. You know what? Women line up for him. The same women who post feminist quotes on Instagram are begging for his attention, because he's one of the few men left who hasn't been domesticated. This creates a brutal dating market. The masculine men have multiple options and no need to commit. The feminized men have no options and nothing to offer. Women bounce between bad boys who won't commit and nice guys they're not attracted to.
Whew, he is really giving it to us, ladies. We got Missy Michelle in the house. Thank you all so much for being here. So, if you remember in that previous segment, he said, with all of this yelling back and forth and arguing with each other, who is actually hurting the most? And ladies, it's us, because we are making decisions based on what our minds think is best, but it negates our natural biology. So, if you are neutering, in his words, that masculine man that you're ultimately going to want, that you're ultimately going to be attracted to, what happens is the masculine men that are unapologetic, that do not care what you say, that are going their way, and you can come along or you can get left behind. Y'all remember that video that we watched with the celebrity who had a throng of women behind him? And I'm not saying that that's what's ideal. Ideally, we want more marriages and families, and this is where it begins. But he said those men are cleaning up. So, ladies, you're making it harder for yourself, because the men that we want now, there's less of them, because it takes a very strong masculine man to say, I don't care what you say. You can tell me no 100 times. I'll find somebody that'll say yes. They are unbothered. So now those are the ones that are the choice men, the select men that all of us want. So they have a plethora of options, and they're cleaning house. They're cleaning up. So if you want a better opportunity, like I said, we need to allow men to be men. They are different. There's some things that you're not going to understand, but you know what? There's some things about us that they don't understand, but we're still better together. And you know what he said about the videos that some men watch. No, we are not promoting that. But for me, it goes a little deeper than that. Lucy and I talked in one episode when we were talking about one of those Asian countries where the AI brothels are coming up. It is beyond me, and it's unnatural. I will say it is unnatural for anybody to want artificial as opposed to real. But what that says to me is that means the real has to be so cumbersome, so bothersome, it costs too much, so stressful that a man would overlook that and go towards something that is temporary and not real. And so it's really unfortunate, but again, it circles back to it's going to hurt us, because when you're ready to settle down and have that family, the men that can actually take that burden on, there's going to be less and less of them. And that's why I say it will get better, but it's going to get worse before it gets better. What would you add, Lucy?
Yes, and to the point you made about there are things that men don't understand about us. They don't, and you know what? They put up with it. They love us for our little nonsensical, nutty things that we do. But it's not to a point where you're going to drive them crazy. It's sometimes it's what they fell in love with when they saw your little crazy things, and they're like, "Oh my God, she's so cute." And men fall really hard for us. Believe it or not, these women that think that doesn't happen, men, when a relationship is destroyed, they suffer more than we do. Especially when we're younger, we can get the next one, right away, because again, our youth is our, right, it's what's working for us. But once you get to the 40s and 50s, that's a different, story for you ladies. And stop believing that you're going to get that man, that six figure, six pack, six whatever man. You're going to get the man that's within your societal environment. Stop falling for those dumb dreams that really they do not exist. Stop it. TikTok is not real. All of these social media, they're all lies. So you keep hearing from all these, what is it, dating guru women that are not married, telling you how to go about life to get you a husband, when they don't even know how to do it because they're not married. So they're selling you a lie.
It's so true. And you all know, you have heard me say, just consider the source. When you hear all these people telling you, look at their life, look at their results. Have you had a long-standing relationship? Have you ever been married? Do you even know what you're talking about? All right. So be very careful. They don't lead you astray, because you will end up there and then you'll be wondering, how in the world did I get here? All right. Let's go back in.
Everyone's miserable. And it's all because we destroyed the system that actually worked. The traditional system wasn't perfect, but it was functional. Men knew what was expected: provide and protect. Women knew what was expected: nurture and support. Everyone knew their role, their value, their contribution. There was clarity. Now, nobody knows what the fuck they're supposed to do. Men don't know how to be men. Women don't know what they want, and everyone's confused. And before women in the comments start screeching about going back to the 1950s, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you can't have it both ways. You can't destroy traditional masculinity and then complain there are no traditional men. You can't demand equality and then expect special treatment. You can't dismantle gender roles and then be surprised when men don't perform their traditional role. The solution isn't complicated, but it requires honesty. First, admit that masculine and feminine are complementary, not competitive. Different, but equal. Each has value, each has purpose. Stop trying to feminize men and masculinize women. Let boys be boys without drugging them. Let men be men without shaming them. Second, be consistent. If you want traditional men, support traditional masculinity. If you want modern egalitarian relationships, stop expecting traditional male behavior. Pick a system and stick with it. This selective application where men get all the responsibilities of both systems but none of the benefits is unsustainable. Third, understand biology doesn't care about ideology. Women are attracted to masculine men. Men are attracted to feminine women. This isn't social conditioning, it's evolutionary hardwiring. You can fight it, but you'll lose.
If I had a sound effect right there, I do, but I don't use them. Masculine men are attracted to feminine women. And ladies, you can argue me down, but if you're honest with yourself, if you ask yourself when you get quiet, the man of your dreams, if you're in a relationship or want to be in a relationship, it is a masculine man. It is somebody that you know will provide and protect, somebody that you don't have to take on the burdens of everything. And like he said, we're not trying to go back to the 1950s. We all like the modern conveniences. We're using social media to connect with you all now. But you've heard me say it, we are not equal. We are equally valued, but we are very different. He said we complement each other. We don't compete with each other. So that's something that you can do. That is low-hanging fruit that you can stop immediately. In the finishing school that we just had, a woman that was in there, she said she went on a date and they were going back to the car and she knew the car was in another direction and he started to walk in the other direction. She almost got in the way and said, no, 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 no. But she waited. She controlled herself and allowed him to say, oh, you know what? I think it's over there. And that's what I'm talking about, ladies. It's the little things that play out over time when you think, oh, it's not that big of a deal. But when that becomes who you are, you always have to say the last word. You always have to correct him. You always have to shame him. You always have to belittle him. You always have to make sure that you're smarter, that you're the one who comes out on top. You can win. And you can be alone at the same time. What would you add, Lucy?
Yes, I think about that one video that there is about this lady that had the husband next to her, and he's and in the middle of an interview, he's like, "Could you stop breathing?" And in the middle of the interview, and it's like, my goodness, how could you do that to your husband? You know, you're sharing this with millions of people, and of course, the respect was already gone by that time. But it's one of those things that, you stop doing those little things time after time. Men are like, okay, I'm out. They put that wall up and they become non-responsive, and they just, they become zombies in a marriage, which is so sad.
I will just say this and we will go back in. Imagine if she had gotten what she wished for. So, ladies, be careful what you ask for. She embarrassed that man and said, could you stop breathing? What if at that moment he stopped breathing? Ask yourself. Let's go back in.
Every society that's tried to eliminate gender differences has collapsed. There's a reason for that. Fourth, bring back merit and accountability. Stop protecting women from the consequences of their choices while holding men fully responsible for theirs. If a woman chooses a bad boy and gets hurt, that's on her. If a man chooses to be passive and gets overlooked, that's on him. Equal rights means equal accountability. Look at successful relationships today. They almost always have clear gender polarity. Even in lesbian relationships, there's usually a more masculine and more feminine partner. Even in the most feminist couples, someone has to lead, someone has to follow. The couples who try to be completely equal in everything, they're either miserable or divorced. The men who are thriving today understand this. They've rejected the programming and embraced their nature. They lift weights while others take yoga. They build businesses while others seek work-life balance. They lead without apology while others ask permission. And guess what? Women flock to them, including the ones who claim to hate everything they represent. I tell young men this all the time. Stop listening to what women say they want. Watch what they respond to. They say they want sensitivity. Watch them chase the guy who doesn't give a fuck about their feelings. They say they want equality. Watch them submit to a man who takes charge. They say they hate toxic masculinity. Watch them fuck the most toxic guy they can find. This isn't women being dishonest. They genuinely believe they want these things. But belief and biology are different. Their conscious mind has been programmed by feminism, but their unconscious attraction triggers are millions of years old. And when the two conflict, biology wins every time. The tragedy is that everyone loses in this system. Men are retreating. Women are frustrated and alone. Children grow up without fathers or with weak father figures. Society becomes less stable, less productive, less happy. All because we decided to wage war on human nature instead of working with it. Traditional gender roles evolved for a reason. They work. They create stable families, functional societies, clear expectations. When men know how to be men and women know how to be women, everything flows. When you try to make everyone the same, everything breaks. We're living through the breakdown right now. The pendulum is starting to swing back though. Young men are rediscovering masculinity through figures like Jordan Peterson, Jocko Willink, and yes, even Andrew Tate. They're rejecting the feminized programming and embracing their nature. They're lifting weights, starting businesses, setting boundaries, refusing to apologize for being men. And young women, they're starting to realize something's wrong too.
All right. That was pretty intense, but as always, what can we learn from this, ladies? I don't know if you heard him, but he said something. He said a couple things pretty quickly. Belief is not biology. So, ladies, especially those of us that are proud of our big jobs and our big degrees and our big promotions, be very careful. What you believe could be counter to what is actually best for you. And it's only human nature. In order to survive, we know what we need because we're drawn to that. We're attracted to that, even if we don't want to be. Like I told you, Mr. President sat me down second date and read me the Riot Act and told me, these are my requirements. Do you accept or not? And I had never I was like, excuse me, does he know who I am? But I was kind of thinking, I love this. Okay, there's a box that I need to be inside this box or outside and alone. You can say that's controlling. You can say you want a partner. You can say all of those things. I promise you, when you get my age and younger, because I'm starting to see this in our 30-year-old students, you are going to be so grateful for somebody who's going to relieve that burden where you can do less and be more. The other thing that he said that that went by really quickly, but I want to make sure you all heard. Did you hear him say we're going to have to start allowing consequences to happen? And ladies, we got to be very careful because we are not built for the rejection. Did you hear him when he said if a man goes out and he strikes out and he doesn't get a date, that's how men learn. They get kicked in the teeth, they get embarrassed, they go back, they get better, and then they go try again. So ladies, ask yourself, when you don't get what you want, do you collapse into a puddle of tears? Do you blame everybody else around you? It was their fault. You're the victim. He was toxic. He was controlling. He was all of that. Or can you humble yourself and say, okay, what is it about me that I keep choosing poorly? What is it about me that makes men are attracted to me that aren't good for me? And can you learn from that and do better? Because if we don't, those consequences are going to happen and you're just going to continue to take the test, but you won't be getting any better. What would you add, Lucy?
And the consequences are already happening. We see a lot of these women that cannot keep their personal life from social media crying out saying, why won't men approach us? Why aren't men paying for the tab? Why aren't men gentlemen or, opening the doors for us? Because you modern women told them not to. So now that's the consequence. They're following your lead. Since you wanted to lead, there it is. That's what you get.
Over a cliff. Okay, let's wrap this up. Let's go back in.
They're tired of soft men who can't make decisions. They're tired of being the leader by default. They're tired of dating men who are more emotional than they are. They're starting to admit quietly that maybe their mother's generation got it wrong. But the damage is deep. We've raised 2 generations of men who don't know how to be men. We've created women who don't know what they want. We've destroyed the social technology that created stable families for thousands of years. And now we're surprised that everyone's miserable, alone and confused. The dating apps reveal the truth. Women swipe right on 4% of men, the ones who still display masculine traits: height, muscle, confidence, dominance, resources. All the things feminism says shouldn't matter. Meanwhile, the nice guys who followed the rules, who became what women said they wanted, they get nothing. 0 matches, 0 dates, 0 sex. This creates a vicious cycle. The few masculine men left have unlimited options, so they don't commit. Why would they? They can have a different woman every night. The feminized men have no options, so they become even more desperate and supplicating. Women bounce between alphas who won't commit and betas they're not attracted to. The solution starts with honesty. Women need to admit they created this problem. They demanded men change, men changed, and now they don't like the result. You can't spend 50 years destroying masculinity and then wonder where all the masculine men went. They went where you told them to go, away. Men need to stop listening to female dating advice. Women give advice that would create the perfect girlfriend with a penis, not an attractive man. Just be yourself. Be more emotional. Share your feelings. This is advice for creating friends, not lovers. If you want to attract women, be masculine, period. We need to stop drugging boys for being boys. Stop punishing masculine behavior in schools. Stop treating male sexuality as predatory. Stop shaming men for their nature. Let boys compete, fight safely, take risks, establish hierarchies. These aren't bugs in male psychology, they're features. We need to bring back male spaces and male mentorship. Boys need older men to teach them how to be men. Not women's idea of how men should be, but actual masculine wisdom passed down through generations. The destruction of male-only spaces has been catastrophic for male development. Women need to decide what they actually want and be consistent about it. If you want a traditional masculine man, you need to be a traditional feminine woman.
Did the video stop? Oh, it stopped for me. Hold on.
It was, oh,
You're muted, Maggie. Okay, so Maggie, okay.
I've been here twice.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know what I did. And now there's an echo. My bad. It was so good. I'm gonna. Why is there an echo? Can you hear the echo? Oh, there it is. Okay. Mm-mm. All right. Let me come out again.
Okay. So we're going to have Maggie leave and then come back again. And I like Nicole's message or comment. At this point, it's willful ignorance. Men have been beyond clear about why they're not approaching. Ladies, the ball is in your court now. Congratulations. It's called consequences of your actions. Absolutely true.
All right. I think we're back now. That was, I was in here twice. What did I do?
It's okay. Little Lucy is good.
Okay. So as we're having technical difficulties, I had a point I was going to say. He was talking about traditional masculine spaces. And ladies, I did want to talk about that. It is really important that we allow men to have their space and we don't need to infiltrate. We don't need to be all up in their business. We need to allow them. You heard him say we need to let the older men teach the men. That's why I'm very adamant about Lucy and I are here for the young women who want to learn. It is not my place. It is not our place. We have wonderful men who are here, who support us, who may even learn something from us. But he said we need to let men teach men.
Yeah.
And not what the women think men are. We need to let the men teach the younger men what being a man actually is. So I got so excited, I messed up everything. What would you add, Lucy?
And I like that he kept saying biology wins every time. No matter how much you try to fight it, how much you want to make believe things that are in your head that you think that you can go against, biology wins every time.
Every time. All right, let's see if I can go back in without messing this up, y'all.
If you want an egalitarian partnership, stop expecting traditional male behaviour. You can't demand a 1950s husband while being a 2024 feminist. Pick a lane. Most importantly, we need to acknowledge that men and women are different, not better, worse, with different strengths, different weaknesses, different needs, different roles. Complementary, not competitive. When we work together, we're unstoppable. When we work against each other, everyone loses. The current system is unsustainable. Rates plummeting. Birth rates are below replacement. Men are checking out. Women are increasingly alone. Children are growing up without fathers. Society is becoming more dysfunctional. This isn't progress, it's civilizational decline. But there's hope. Biology is stronger than ideology. No matter how much social programming tries to override it, nature finds a way. Men are rediscovering masculinity. Women are admitting they want masculine men. The pendulum is swinging back. The only question is how much damage will be done before we return to sanity. The red pill movement, for all its flaws, is a natural response to this insanity. Men are sharing notes, comparing experiences, figuring out what actually works versus what they've been told should work. They're discovering that everything they were taught about women and relationships was wrong, and they're pissed. Can you blame them? They followed the rules, became what women said they wanted, and got nothing. They were lied their entire lives, told that being nice, sensitive, and feminist would make them attractive. Instead, they watched the toxic men they were told not to beget all the women they were told they'd get by being good. The gaslighting is incredible. Men express frustration about this, and they're called incels, misogynist, toxic. But they're just pointing out the obvious contradiction. Women say they want one thing, but choose another. And when men notice this pattern and adapt, they're the bad guys. Make it make sense. Here's what nobody talks about: the women who get it. The ones who appreciate masculine men, support their partner's leadership, understand complementary roles. They're in happy, stable relationships while their feminist friends are alone with their cats wondering where all the good men went. These women understood that fighting human nature is a losing battle. I counsel couples where the woman actively supports her man's masculinity. She encourages him to lift weights, make decisions, take charge. She creates space for him to be masculine. And you know what? These relationships thrive. The sex is great, the partnership works. Everyone's happy. Because they're working with biology, not against it. The corporate world is slowly waking up to this too. Companies that embrace masculine leadership principles, clear hierarchy, decisive action, competitive meritocracy, outperform those drowning in consensus building and feelings. The most successful companies are returning to what works, not what sounds nice in a diversity seminar. Here's the bottom line. Women created the men they now complain about. They demanded sensitivity, got it, and hate it. They destroyed traditional masculinity and now wonder where the real men went. They changed the rules and are upset men adapted to the new rules. You made your bed, now lie in it. Or better yet, admit you were wrong. Admit that traditional masculinity has value. Admit that you're attracted to strong, confident, decisive men. Admit that the feminist experiment has failed. Admit that men and women are different and that's okay. Admit that you want a man who acts like a man, not a woman. To the men reading this, stop apologizing for being men. Stop asking permission to be masculine. Stop listening to what women say and watch what they do. Be strong, be confident, take charge, set boundaries, lift weights, build something, compete, win. The women who matter will respond. The ones who don't weren't worth your time anyway. To the women reading this, be honest about what you want. If you want a masculine man, support masculine men. Stop trying to feminize men and then complaining they're not masculine enough. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Choose what you want and accept the trade-offs that come with it. Drop a comment below about your experience with this. Men, have you been told to be sensitive only to be rejected for it? Women, do you find yourself attracted to men who embody the toxic traits you claim to hate? Let's have an honest conversation about this, because until we admit the truth, nothing will change. And if nothing changes, everyone loses.
All right. So I wanted to let that play out so I don't mess it up again. I think we have made the point very clear. Ladies, ultimately, you have a decision to make. And that decision is right now, if it's not too late. One of the things that I was thinking about as he was talking is I didn't realize it then, but one of the beauties of getting married young or partnering up young or whatever you want to call it and getting out of this dating market, you avoid all of this chaos. Lucy and I are in our comfortable lives, and every once in a while we come out and we poke our head out, we see what's happening out here, we say, okay, these are our thoughts, and then we retreat back into our comfortable lives. And ladies, that's how it should be. We should be under the covering of our men, of our husbands. We shouldn't be exposed to this daily barrage of foolishness that just leaves everybody confused. And then, like he said, biology is going to win over ideology 10 times out of 10. So, ladies, I'm telling you, if you don't feel it now, your maternal instinct, your biological imperative, all of that, it is real. We were talking about hormones earlier in the stream. So you can argue me down if you want to. I do not care. I'm just saying, ladies, if you think you feel that little something there that's like, you know what, I need to do something differently, that little prompting is not going to go away. It's actually going to get louder and louder and stronger as you age. And you have a very small window when you can do something about it. So I would say act now and appreciate the men that you're going to actually want to be with. What would you say to close this out, Lucy?
Absolutely agree. And this is one more opportunity for young ladies to start changing that mindset that the other side is the enemy. They are our complementary piece. And, appreciate just watch them, sit back and watch them how they behave out there. It's fascinating to see how they move, how they react, how they play around with each other. It's just fascinating to see how different they are from us, and that should be appreciated rather than castigated, because this is what 50 years of feminism has done to men.
Absolutely. So, ladies, it's going to be 50 more years at least before things look different. And I'm not trying to scare anybody, but I'm sure the harvest of what we're planting, we may not see it. And I'm okay with that because it's taken us 50 years to get here. But those of you all who want outcomes before 50 years is up, you need to be moving differently right now. And you need to say out of your mouth and with your actions, no, men are welcome here. That's what we want. If you're too chicken, if the sisterhood has you scared, then that's fine. That's what you chose. Nicole and I will be inside making dinner. But I'm telling you, ladies, it's not going to look good. And there's going to be women that you know, maybe even women that you're related to, that are going to go howling into the night because they just could not admit, you know what, I really do need a man. It's all around us. Okay. So choose wisely. Thank you all for all of the support, even though we struggle over here. Thank you, Bernard, for the encouragement. And you know what? I believe whoever needs to hear our content will hear our content. The internet is forever. Lucy and I are not here to have a big audience. We're just here to drop in the bucket and then go retreat into our private lives. And speaking of private life, I will miss you all next week. We are very, very proud that our oldest, some of you all who follow me know, Marcus has completed his boot camp. It's been a very long 13 weeks. I've had a smile on, but we have missed him terribly. He is now officially a United States Marine, and his graduation is this weekend. So if you like my travel content, I will be sharing what I can along the way. But appreciate all of your prayers and support. And yeah, I have to say, I didn't do that. It's because I allowed him to be a boy who became a young man, and now it's a man. So thank you to his father, and thank you to all of the men who told me ain't nothing wrong with that boy. Just let him be. And now he is somebody that all of us can be proud of. All right. So thank you all so much. We will see you back in 2 weeks. Just turn on your notifications. We are here until we are not. And with that, we will say adios.
Adios.